BASEketball is the sports comedy where the game is almost a joke and the trash talk is the real main event. Two slackers turn a driveway idea into a pro league overnight, and suddenly it is crazy shots, ridiculous rules, and nonstop insults flying like fastballs. It is loud, stupid in the best way, and so quotable you can hear the lines before they even land. But underneath the jokes, the origin is stranger than the movie. It started as a TV series plan before it ever became a feature. Early on, it was only the two leads in the game. Then Squeak got added and the whole chemistry clicked. And it accidentally predicts where sports were headed. Branding first, money louder than the game. These are 10 weird facts about BASEketball, the comedy that looks like nonsense and somehow called its shot. Number 1. Imagine a lost pilot that sounds too good to be true. BASEketball as a TV show? Chris Rock as the lead, filmed real, then it got rejected and basically vanished. Before the movie ever existed, David Zucker aimed the idea at television first. That tracks. He already had TV in his bloodstream from Police Squad, and he knew how to build a dumb premise that could run weekly without collapsing. So BASEketball started as a show, not a theatrical swing, and it got farther than most people think. A pilot was developed with Chris Rock attached as the lead, not in talks, not maybe, a real attempt with a real headline name, the kind of casting that's supposed to make executives stop flipping pages. Then the network said no, the TV version died the way TV versions die, quiet, instant, like it never happened. But here's the strange part. Failed pilots usually leave fingerprints. A clip, a promo, a still, a screenshot, something you can point to and prove it existed. This one doesn't. No broadcast, no easy trail, no footage floating around for fans to dig up. It sits in that rare limbo where Hollywood stores its almost shows and never lets them back into the light. So when BASEketball finally arrives as a movie, it looks like a simple idea that got green-lit. It wasn't. It was a second life built on a version you were never meant to see. Number 2. The poster makes it look simple. The South Park guys doing a sports comedy. Their faces, their attitude, their era. The movie practically dares you to assume Parker and Stone invented the whole thing. They didn't. This idea belonged to David Zucker first, and it started in the least Hollywood place possible, his driveway. Years before the film, Zucker invented BASEketball as a real game and played it with friends in the late 1980s. Not as a sketch, not as a writing exercise, as something you actually sweat through. A real hoop, a real ball, a rule set designed to keep it competitive even when people weren't equally athletic. That's the key. It wasn't built to reward talent, it was built to reward stupidity that still worked. A sport engineered to feel playable while still sounding like a joke when you tried to explain it to anyone else. And when the movie finally got made, Zucker didn't treat that origin like trivia. He smuggled it into the frame. A lot of the background players you see aren't polished casting call bodies. They're the real people from those original driveway games. His friends, the guys who were there before a studio heard the pitch, before Universal money showed up, before From the creators of South Park got stamped on the marketing like a guarantee. That's what makes the whole thing funnier in hindsight. BASEketball got sold to the world like a brand extension of Parker and Stone, but under that headline, it's an older, weirder story, a fake sport that was already real long before Hollywood ever heard the whistle. Number 3. Most projects die after the first no. BASEketball didn't. It still came back anyway. Universal still wanted it, not because the premise was important, but because studios can smell a trend like blood in the water. A dumb, broad sports comedy had already proven it could pull crowds, and BASEketball felt like the kind of concept you could sell with the right packaging. So the format changed. No TV series, make it a movie. At first, Zucker didn't picture it as a Parker and Stone showcase at all. His instinct was pure 90s studio math. Build it around one human wrecking ball, Chris Farley. Let the sport be the excuse, and let Farley be the engine the way he was in Black Sheep and Beverly Hills Ninja. That version makes perfect sense. It's loud, it's simple, it's a star vehicle. Then television detonated. South Park hit like a cultural malfunction. It didn't feel like another animated show. It felt like something the mainstream wasn't supposed to allow. And once that happened, the most valuable part of BASEketball wasn't the fake sport. It was the label you could slap on the poster. So Zucker made the pivot, cast Trey Parker and Matt Stone, and suddenly the pitch doesn't require explanation. You don't have to sell rules or a plot or even the joke. You just sell the headline, the creators of South Park. That one phrase does what a whole trailer tries to do. It tells you the tone, it promises the attitude. It makes a weird concept feel instantly familiar to the exact audience Universal wanted. And it rewrites the movie's identity in public, even though Parker and Stone didn't invent the game, and the project had already failed once. Number 4. That one-line sale did its job. The creators of South Park turned BASEketball into a studio-friendly headline overnight, and suddenly Parker and Stone weren't just two guys in a cast, they were the marketing engine. The problem is, they signed on because they thought that engine was about to stall. At the time, they honestly assumed South Park would get canceled. In their minds, it was a wildfire show, loud, dangerous, and destined to burn out fast. So BASEketball felt like a smart side move, a studio comedy they could shoot while the TV phenomenon died and the next chapter of their careers got figured out. Then the exact opposite happened. South Park got renewed, BASEketball didn't move, and their lives turned into two full-time jobs stacked on top of each other. Days belonged to David Zucker's set, call time around 6 a.m., physical sports scenes, tight comedy discipline, long hours under a director who runs the machine old school. Then rap would hit around 7 p.m., and instead of going home, they'd start the second shift, straight to their office, South Park, all-night writing, producing, keeping the show alive until 2 or 3 in the morning, then back to set a few hours later to do it again for months. 3 to 4 hours of sleep a night on repeat, while trying to be funny on camera and stay sharp enough to run an animated series off camera. By the end, the exhaustion wasn't subtle. They didn't just look tired, they looked hollow, and it left a scar that shaped their careers. After this, they made a rule: never star in a movie they didn't write and direct themselves. Number 5. BASEketball gets sold like a two-man act. Cooper and Reamer, two idiots who invent a sport and stumble into fame. Two South Park guys doing the whole movie on their backs. The marketing leans into that so hard you're supposed to believe the film is basically a double act with a ball. Then Squeak shows up, and suddenly the movie doesn't feel like a duo anymore. It feels like a trio, because the story starts orbiting a third presence who keeps getting funnier the longer he stays in the room. That wasn't the original plan. Squeak was written as a smaller role, a quick friend character who appears early, adds flavor, then fades out once the plot gets moving. The kind of part most studio comedies treat like disposable seasoning. But Parker and Stone didn't treat him like seasoning, they treated him like family. They pushed to bring in Dion Bahar, their longtime friend and collaborator from their earlier, scrappier world, the guy who'd already been with them on Cannibal the Musical and Orgasmo. To them, Bahar wasn't just an actor, he was part of the rhythm that made their comedy work, someone who could play awkward loyalty and pathetic confidence in a way that feels real instead of written. Even with that friendship, the studio didn't just hand him the spot. Bahar still had to fight through a real casting process, multiple auditions, a test reel, and the kind of scrutiny designed to prove this wasn't just buddy favoritism. He had to earn the right to be there in front of people who didn't care about the friendship. Then cameras rolled and the role started mutating. Bahar kept landing, not in a one good scene way, in a way that made the movie better when he was in it. So the script started bending around him. More lines, more scenes, more space. The kind of shift you can feel happening because suddenly Squeak isn't popping in for jokes, he's carrying moments. That's how a side character becomes a third lead, not through a rewrite meeting, through a performance the movie can't afford to lose. So for a lot of viewers, the most memorable character isn't Cooper or Reamer, it's the third wheel who wasn't supposed to matter and ended up becoming the glue. Number 6. After Squeak turns the movie into a 3-0, the next trick is how BASEketball makes the fake sport feel weirdly official. It doesn't do it with bigger effects, it does it by borrowing real-world credibility, then refusing to let that credibility joke around. Look at the announcer booth. Bob Costas and Al Michaels show up as themselves and call this nonsense with total professional gravity. No mugging, no "can you believe I'm here" energy. They treat BASEketball like it's worthy of primetime history, and that seriousness makes everything around them funnier. Then the movie lands the quiet kill shot, the post-credits bit. Costas and Michaels facing each other saying nothing but "dude" over and over. Dude, 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 dude. Two of the cleanest broadcast voices alive reduced to one word, delivered like it's a real conversation.